Lawrence King was born in 1993 and murdered in 2008 at the age of 15. Weeks before his death, he had publicly announced to his classmates that he was gay. He was shot in his school computer lab by a 14-year-old student. Scotty Weaver was born in 1986 and murdered in 2004 at the age of 18. He was strangled and stabbed numerous times. His burned body was found a few miles from his home. Matthew Shepard, born in 1976 and murdered in 1998 at the age of 22. He left a bar with two men pretending to be gay. The men drove him to a remote area and beat him. They tied him to a fence. He was found in a coma the next day. He later died in the hospital. Charlie Howard was born in 1961 and murdered in 1984 at the age of 23. He met a tragic fate at the hands of 3 local teenagers who beat him for being flamboyantly gay. They casted him off the side of a bridge into a stream. He had an asthma attack and drowned. Fanny Ann Eady was born in 1974 and murdered in 2004 at the age of 30. She was the founder of the Sierra Leone Lesbian and Gay Association and a lesbian rights activist known across Africa. In her office, she was raped repeatedly, stabbed, and her neck was broken. Tragedy has touched many families. Many are left with the bitter taste of hatred. So many dreams have been shattered and lives have been cut short. However, fear has not been able to diminish the passionate, loving spirit for justice and equality that will ultimately prevail.
One of the memories that I remember distinctively when I was growing up was the murder of my uncle. And the reason why I remember this is because my cousins were being, thanks to my cousins I found out. They were reading this local newspaper, and the newspaper was called El Caleño, and it featured all the deaths murders that took place the week before. And that day they were reading the newspaper, and I was around and I heard the word Alejandra and uncle. So when they put the newspaper down, if they tried to hide it away, I found it and I flipped through the pages, and there it was. I saw the heading, Death by Pipe. So as I proceeded to read the article, all I could read about was the homosexual that got beaten up by a pipe. And the skull was shattered, but the homosexual blah blah blah. So it was all about the homosexual. It was not really about them trying to find who killed my uncle, or the fact that the murder was so horrendous. Another thing that I remember when I was growing up was every night there was a series of murders of young men that were walking out of gay bars, and they were gunned down. Of course, everybody knew who it was. I mean, a lot of the people knew that it was the police that were haciendo una barrida, which means sweep, and in this case, sweeping away the gay people. So every night there was always like maybe 1 or 2 gay men shot in the corners, or as they were coming out of the bars, or they were in alleys, or wherever they were.
Straight, black, white, marriage is a civil right. Straight, sisters and brothers, the struggle is not over. If you're gonna keep fighting, gay, straight, black, white, marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black.
Hi, my name is Jinx Beers, and yes, that is my legal name. I am mostly noted, nowadays they tell me I'm a pioneer lesbian activist, and mostly I'm noted for having founded the Lesbian News, which is the world's longest running lesbian newspaper, or at least publication, because it has now gone from a newspaper to a magazine format. I have to tell you that the difference between today and 40 years ago, when I started being an activist, it is so different. The atmosphere is so different. And the legal aspects are so different that it's like night and day. So it's only a matter of time. Okay, so we've had a little setback here in California on, being able to marry, but it's going to happen. All major social developments, they're not done at the ballot box. They are not accomplished there. They're accomplished through laws and through the courts. If it was put to a vote in the South, it would still be segregated. There would be you would still be illegal for intermarriage, interracial marriage would still be illegal if it were put to a vote. So this whole thing about gays and lesbians and so on being able to marry, it's a civil rights issue. It is not a religious issue, in my opinion. And it will work its way through the courts, and we will win that one without any question.
There are many that believe that the rates of alcoholism and drug addiction in the gay, lesbian, and transgender communities are at rates higher than in the heterosexual community. I would venture to guess, although there have been no new studies out to say it, that it's probably true because drugs and alcohol become the social lubricant at a very young age to deal with your sexuality, to deal with being different, to deal with the negative messaging that's out there, to deal with the fear of being accepted or not by your family and friends.
The biggest epidemic in our community isn't AIDS, it's not crystal meth, it's self-loathing. That's the biggest epidemic in our community. And our job as gay media is to promote self-esteem in every nook and cranny of our culture. To basically tell everybody, you're okay just the way you are, love yourself, we love you, and for God's sake, if you don't come out, you're part of the problem.
Judgment Day is coming. You have no excuse. You have been warned. Jesus Christ will have no mercy on Judgment Day. Turn or burn. Once you get into hell, you can't get out of hell.
So the impact that all of this is having on the gay community and the individuals within the gay community it's several levels. It's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And what happens is that when you tell people that they're not good enough and that they should feel shame and that they should feel guilty, and you shame them and you make them feel bad about who they are, it literally impacts their physical well-being at the same time. It impacts their immune system, and it also impacts for generations how people feel about themselves. So there's a level of self-loathing that goes on within the gay community because of the way those of us outside of the community have downloaded into them how they should feel about themselves.